Okay, Bill 603, I'd like a motion from the board to adopt this.
I'll make that motion.
Those in favor, say aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. For everyone out there, including myself, please turn off your phones. Thank you. The open session agenda item that we have is in regards to continuing this. And so as you know, this is a special meeting. For the special meeting, we have open session where we'll be discussing the this and the executive session where we'll be discussing board member honor. As you know, the board meeting last Tuesday, a member brought forward a great open forum. The member, Joe Hitler, stated that he believes proper notice for the annual meeting has not been given to membership for the annual meetings that occurred in 2020 and for the upcoming meetings this August. Based his statement on the fact that members were given by email rather than U.S. mail. The member further stated that he believes since notice was not properly given, that the assessment voted on last meeting to be unwound and that the board actions taken since last August are invalid. Furthermore, the member alleged that the upcoming annual meeting set to take place would not be valid either. If the actions that the member proposed were to occur, the results to the club in our community. You can imagine that all the good that the club and the board have accomplished over the last year was wasted. So let's play out the scenario. 1, there would be no increase in pay for our security staff and maintenance. 2, the club would still be in arrears on benefit insurance monies for our staff. 3, the lodge would not open or it would close. But not been able to reopen, but now close, if that were the case. 4, money for culverts would not be available. 5, there would not be money to address community security for updating to a new system for the community payment. 5, the dam assessment would not be paid and the depreciation and capital accounts would not be healthy again. And there are many more positive changes that would be erased should this occur. The board has reviewed the underlying facts surrounding the notice change, and they are as such. In July of 2019, the general manager at the time, Randy Sputnam, announced to the board that the ECHO would no longer be mailed, but rather it would be emailed. There was no board vote on the matter. Emailing the ECHO, which included the notice of the annual meeting, and in September of 2019. Interestingly, the number of members voting in 2018 277. The number of members voting in 2019 was 439. You may remember that in 2019, we had an assessment increase on the ballot, which failed by several votes. Both 2018 and 2019, ECHO was sent by U.S. mail. In 2020, the ECHO was emailed, and there were 526 votes. The club received this many votes even in the year dampened and diminished by COVID. Also of note, the community was made aware that hard copies of the ECHO could be picked up at the administrative office, the 2 club post offices, and at the clubhouse. Lastly, and importantly, Article 5, Section 1 of the Code of Regulations states that the annual meeting for a club is take place on the third Sunday in August each year. This has been in place for at least 20 years. The board takes these type of allegations very seriously. I indicated in the meeting that the board would address these allegations immediately. We have held to that promise. Per my directive, the board has sought legal counsel on this matter from the club's attorney, John Joplin. John is in attendance tonight. He has provided the board with his recommendation and his opinion. I would like for him to speak for a minute to provide a bit more insight on his findings and opinion, and so.
So, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is John Jolly. It's served as association counsel for Highway Hills for a number of years as a successor to my predecessor, who was Rick Levinsky, partner of mine for many years now. In fact, he passed away. As Linda said, I was asked to become involved in this matter last week at the conclusion of the monthly meeting. The discovery of this issue was brought forward by a member of the association, and Linda asked me to analyze the item that was brought forward by the member, to make an analysis of the governing documents all at hand, come with an outcome. She stole a bit of my thunder here as she gave her introduction, but the ultimate outcome I see is that the annual meeting, and inclusive of that, the notice to the annual meeting for both 2020 and 2021 permissible as stands. I'll run through a bit of my analysis for you all in that regard, give you a basic understanding of how I came to that. So the first aspect of the objection to the notice comes from the manner in which notice for the annual meeting was set forth in the Code of Regulations. So Article 4, Section 3 of the Code states, in large part, that the annual meeting will be held at a lodge or at another place in the state of Ohio as designated by the association on the third Sunday of August of every year. The notice mailed the members of the association at least 60 days prior to the holding of that meeting. Mail is not otherwise specifically defined within the Code of Regulations that place. So it is a permissible expansion, in my opinion. It would take forward, make a change to what has been a long-standing occurrence of utilizing the U.S. regular mail for the purpose of sending that annual notice and changing that to an email function form. There are actually other places in the Code of Regulation that go further to define what mail is. Under a similar section, put it in front of you here, in Article 4, where there is the section that deals with the request and the dissemination of absentee vote. It does specifically state that the association will mail by regular mail. So that's the first position. That's the first prong of that analysis. The other item that came to pass was that as an aside, as an observation, this goes to intent. The ECHO has been longstanding forum, going back as far as I can discern, many years, as the dissemination of notice, opposed to creating a special form of notice and sending it to the membership at large. In that regard, it was a decision made by the office, the administration, to take away or to adjust the manner in which notice was sent, and to begin in a cost-saving maneuver to email that to all members of the association.
You remember in 2019, I think you all do, we were in public and financial dire straits. And I think that our office was scrambling, trying to find ways to reduce our costs. And by electronically mailing the echo, it's made about $8,000.
So the intent of that is something you have to look closely at, really carefully. I'll tell you that if this is challenged, the judge is going to look at the rationale, the reason, the basis for all of this, and render that in the totality of the circumstance. So the intent was not to deceive the membership at large, or to otherwise obscure and find ways to sabotage membership's participation in the annual meeting. It is my understanding that that this was brought to the attention of the board sometime later, that a formal vote was never occurred with respect to that, but that the acquiescence of the board, it was permissible to go forward with that change from regular mail to if I finish first, can I go through my analysis? I actually love my answer to that question. I represent the board of trustees. I represent the association as a body policy. I do that without any adherence of member of the board, administration. I do that without practice. I do that without prejudice. The part that Linda went through in specificity, I hit on it, is something else that's ingrained in the entirety of the knowledge, the dissemination of that knowledge. Section 3 of Article 4 again emphasizes that the annual meeting's been held long-standing at a specific time frame within the construct of the calendar year, the third Sunday of August of every year. Linda mentioned that goes back at least 20 years. I have evidence to show that the code of regulations for 2002 do in fact contain that. And so having that long-standing precedent further acts in a fashion that there is common knowledge within the face of it. So you're going to have an annual meeting, going to be activity both in presentation as well as the vote, approval, ratification of certain actions, whether it be both of the board members or initiatives. The last item that I like to present, and again, I'll capture it in a better, in a more broader term. Outcome. What was the outcome? What would be different to that outcome if the notice had changed from email to mail? Okay. Historical evidence for at least the past 3 years shows You had you had greater participation in the 2020 annual meeting than you had the prior 2 years. By a lot. 529 members came forward and participated by voting. Okay? Take aside those that couldn't participate, because you have to have members of not in good standing. So, there's some portion of the total population, the total membership here, that couldn't vote. Look at what you still have at 529. Again, I go back to what will this look like? What will this construct look like in a situation of challenge? The judge is going to look at that. The judge is going to say, does it look as though the membership was adversely affected by this because they were not given the availability of participation? My opinion is no. So that's the sum and substance of the essential message that I have for the board, the association at large. It's my recommendation that the change to email is an appropriate form and method to allow notice to go forward. And that I do not believe that there can be shown aggregate harm with respect to the actions that were taken. I'll turn it back over to Linda.
So before we move on, do you have any other questions?
Is the review of this complaint?
I'm sorry, we should probably be a little more formal about this. That was Kevin Cleveland earlier that asked the question.
That's correct.
What's your lot number, Kevin?
I'm correct.
All right, thank you. And for your name?
David Stephen, 211.
All right, thank you.
In review of this, we were able to identify a case law where company had a bylaw that required a mail. And they've done it electronically. What that decision. Have an example.
Are you asking me for a company or are you asking me for a like-kind association? Either one. Company, no. In terms of case law precedent, of an issue at hand, yes, out of state, I found precedent that showed, reflected that a form had changed. And frankly, what it's coming down to here in this instance is the interpretation of what mail means in that regard. Well, again, it was ambiguously defined within the code of regulations, and it was given, or the equivalent, and it was given the expansive interpretation.
That you have.
How I took him to run last year?
Oh, wait a minute. Boy says he does it.
That's just what they went on thought.
The day before he contacted me, and I contacted, or I didn't personally contact him, and we passed it on. He not agree on this, a day or so before. And he was concerned about last year and obviously this year. So we brought it to the board. And, in 2020, when this first happened, there was 10 members on the board, 9 members and an ex officio. And they didn't notice. I mean, it was just a slip. It was a mistake. I mean, I wouldn't call it a mistake. It was just an oversight by that particular board. But he felt, and I agree with him, it should be brought up before it got any further. And Joe is not trying to shut down the community, or is the board trying to shut down the community? It just popped up, and I have to applaud Ann. She jumped on this fast, and she moved on it, and she got it out in front of everybody, and did an excellent job of getting this out and cleaning up a real stinking mess.
Oh, and I have questions. Are you concerned that some of the older members don't have internet? Not. I have internet, and I didn't even know that there was this issue on the ballot. I thought it was just offices. So, I get 200-300 emails a day. I'm not gonna wade through them.
Okay, they are 1875, they see that. We do send email, obviously, it's in the echo. We have e-blast, we have, are there some people that prefer not to chronically? Yes. And you may have heard me talking about that in the board meeting. I've asked members who are not comfortable with internet or don't use it much, call or contact the office and to opt out of electronic and opt in to it. So we have had members come and do that. It's actually in your assessment building.
The assessment.
Well, that would be more of a once. But if the board is sending it by U.S. mail to those who opt out of electronic mail, people who don't want to use electronic mail, aren't using it, have the ability to say, send me a hard copy. And as you know, there has been the ability all along to get a hard copy at one of the post offices, club office, as well as the clubhouse.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
we don't know what we're not getting.
in our assessment went out, typically ask members notify the office if they opt out of electronic mail. Check your assessment. Any other questions? Her next to her. Okay. All right. Okay. Her name is.
I'm not saying he has to answer. Let me, I am not against personally elections, so my question has nothing to do with my personal question of when I think about
of the state and argue the semantics of what the word mail means in code regulations, and I appreciate that. What the code is very clear on is that at least 60 days before the election, that all members on record have to be notified, and it says mail or what have you. So my concern, both looking backward and moving forward, is to make sure that all membership, every member, gets notified about this kind of stuff and what issues are on the ballot, candidates that are running, all of these things. And I fear at this point whether we look at mail or email or the combination of all of it, that for whatever reason, and I'm not laying any blame on anyone. I understand things get forgotten, but it's very clear that the club, somehow we have failed in our duty to notify all members on record 60 days at any meeting of this election, the candidates, and any thoughts about that? Well, I'm curious what the thoughts are legally. Thoughts are legally if not adhere to that requirement.
Retroactive perspective.
Well, I'm talking about the fact that what we're looking at this year, okay, the fact that, put the argument about email versus mail aside, that we did not adhere to that duty in the code to notify all membership on record at least 60 days before the election. So where does that put us? Where, I mean, you're giving a legal opinion, and I appreciate that, okay? But where does it really put us if we're not going to discuss mail versus email because the judge will take that? Does this put us in terms of not having notified all membership on record?
That's the absolute rigid and unwaivable definition of annual meeting will be held on the 3rd of August. The 3rd Sunday of August of every. So, and probably, gravity of harm in that regard too. So, you got this buttress position of at least 60 days. And let's be honest about what notice is. And I don't care if you're posting a personal notice. You're still going to have folks that are going to come forward and say, he didn't get it. I can guarantee you that you're going to see some facet of folks that will say they didn't get it. So you got to go through the lineage of, well, but let's look at the position of what does public notice look like as well. That's going to again bolster that you're doing this in a transparent and open fashion, and you're doing with all best efforts and all good faith. Get notice out and the issues at hand known to the populace at large that want to participate. Okay? And you've got the folks that can't participate. So disregard the fact that one person does or does not receive notice who's not in good standing. They've got no standing. They have no right to participate as it is. If you come forward and if you participate, what is your harm?
Well, I think pieces of that from some people just have not known certain aspects of candidates or whatever the case may be. I don't want to get into members not. I'm not going to provide people items and what. Sure, but I want to look at it just holistically and say, what is our exposure? That's really what we're here to talk about. Our exposure. Very real cost for that exposure if somebody takes issue with it. What is our exposure for having failed in that? By all members either by phone or email.
So how to gauge what is exposure? Monetary value?
Well, I don't think
because I don't think I can do that.
I'm saying the likelihood of practice.
I would say that the probability of success
I'm asking you for a risk assessment.
is extremely small. Probability of a challenge.
So, Tim Freeman, plot line right two. How many special board of trustees meetings have ever had this president? Well, it's pretty relevant because this has got to be a one-time thing.
No. So we have.
I asked the question. I didn't say a statement.
Yeah, but you're saying as long as I've been here, this is the only time. No, there was last fall. Only was here last fall. We've had Jeff Spangler probably in the past too, but I'm not. Okay, Jim Lloyd saying yes. So,
How many times did Rick Levinsky?
Oh, it's a big order.
Special meeting or regular meeting?
Special meeting, regular meeting, we had last Thursday.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just asking questions.
I know, but what I want to be clear on is something that,
Linda, I'm trying to make something stop.
well, it's just so personal, yeah.
I think it's personal.
You asked me earlier whether he was. Look, he was close, Kevin. He's looking after you, he's looking after me, he's looking after all of us.
That's fair.
By U.S. membership, there were always about the same number of people that opted out of receiving the mail that didn't want to get it. So they said, we don't want to get it, don't send it to us. Those people were not receiving, and I think it's a very similar number as to what it would have been. So it's been historically that we're going to talk about liability, that would go way back to the beginning. Or at least could say that. He hasn't said it. But since the beginning of tennis, 12 years. So she said, even when they were mailed it, the same percentage noticed by U.S. prepaid ordinary mail. So, there is also, and this isn't meant in any way offensive, so please do not take it. But as a member, you all have a little bit of responsibility to have information. So, and it talked about it openly, or on that Facebook page. It also went out, e-blast, went out, Echo, it went out. We talked about it for months in the board meetings, which also were on the Facebook page. That is the papers and the HHA one, HAH one. So there is some, as members, whether I'm on the board or not on the board, just talking to people and seeking out information is really beneficial. And we can follow all the codes, we can follow all of that, but we're going to miss some people, like John said. And that's not intentional. We're trying. And, it's hard. It's hard to get everybody. So if you can, your ideas of what we can do to reach these other people, we will definitely take that into consideration. So
do we have any other questions before I ask for a motion? Yes, sir. Fine, thank you.
So would board have change definition more specific? Themselves, or just something that they would membership. The code regulations are always, I mean, so I say that in the sense that the membership at large could bring this forward as as an issue and a proposal to change to specify something akin to um, stating specifically that email communication is either permitted or or to restrict it, frankly. If that was the will of the membership of the body. The board has the right within the organizational structure, sort of pyramid fashion of the governing underpinnings of a community association. And restrictions, your policy declarations, code of regulations, and then your rules below over top of that. And it's factor and filter in state, federal law, local law. We have a planned community act under Ohio Revised Code 12 that sort of speaks to gaps of certain aspects of that pyramid. You have the ability to use rules and regulations at the top, so long as they do not specifically counter and contradict a subset that's below more powerful. So rules and regs can't trump something that's specifically stated in the code of regulations, but it can be used to expound upon the code of regulations, further clarify and interpret. That's something within the board's power. It's something that, frankly, the membership can stop by taking that initiative. Yes, that was that part that I was discussing about clarifying the rules and regulations go through a board edition. I would also add that generally, unable to whatever, law allows posting certain post offices. So we have here, they need manner in which on post office another option is what? Follow comments with respect. Proposal that they were taking to sound my rule. That's been discussed. It's been much broader sense. And frankly, I encourage. I also, frankly, I don't let me in this direction in any other fashion. I'm all about transparency. I think that this community, this association works and only works at its most optimal if there is full and complete participation. And frankly, to see this many people here tonight, to see how many people participated last year in the annual meeting is refreshing. Because I can tell you the opposite effect happens in many Canyon associations. There's voter apathy. It's hard to get folks to participate. So I am all about that transparency and the full opportunity to be involved, to vote, participate in the governance of your organization.
Hold on. This is a problem. You have ideas, if it's not, if people don't want the rule change, have ideas, like there's option to set voting mailing, in writing, and different ideas, it leads to good results. So have ideas, work through this issue in a constructive way, please send them. We're happy to receive that information, and then we can try and make a decision that will alleviate this kind of situation in the future.
I would like to say, only make it better. And we believe that what we've done is permissible, but we can make it better. For a rule change promulgated by the board, maybe that's a way to do that. We're all very aware. We want everyone to know.
And do those items of frankly, I fully agree with you. Post as much, place notification as much out there, because you're only going to be served better by getting it.
I want to go to Gretchen. We'll take a couple more, and then I'll. But anyway, Gretchen. Yeah.
Evidence that you about with his one, well, we have really big votes in those. And I would argue that that's not necessary. I think that was important things on the ballot that people vote on. Sorry about this. And that my question is, how many complaints were lodged before the email started about lack of communication and everything else? 0. That's right. 6 years I've been here, and I've never heard anybody complain about getting like, because it was in the Echo, or it was the one year I got it in the mail, all the issues, all the candidates. So I want to understand, this is apples and oranges for the turnout.
Back for a second. 19 mailed it by U.S. Mail had 100 fewer voters. And in that election, we were, well, not just an election, we had on the ballot an assessment increase, which was, I think, very closely watched by our community. And fast forward to the next year, it was not U.S. mail, it was electronically mailed, had more members voting, same issue. So I don't know, I understand, have feelings about that.
With all due respect, several months, we did phone banks where we contacted every member by phone, get on the vote drive, specifically talking about the funds that were needed for it. So this is getting convoluted because just because we made the one error, and I don't think you want to change that. But every time we can continue down that path, ignoring our code, then we are setting a new precedent. So we need to well, I'm saying if the code says, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm saying that by the code outlining that it needs to go by mail, SPS or certified. That's what the code says. Okay, and we have expanded that, but not in writing. We haven't changed the code to outline, are we willing as membership to accept email as that form of mail?
That's what we need to talk about. And so, because ignore it. And,
Well, I don't mean that we ignored it, but it's.
well, that's why we got the class part, is my comment, so that's why I'm addressing it. And so, no one here is trying to ignore it. And in fact, I am shocked by how methodical this board is on trying to follow the code. It's been surprising, frankly. But we don't want to do this wrong. We want to do this right. That is a very basic premise. And I'm trying to figure out, are there people here that want to contest that? What's happening? I mean, if there are, let's talk about it.
I just want to say, I think in 2019, somebody helped me out here, but I think there was a group working to promote the assessment increase and calling people. Yes, and so they're in both years, 2019 and 2020. So I just want to clarify that. I see a hand that, okay, Nancy, what number, please? Well, I think that we can do our best, but our best is probably never going to be. But we will inevitably, maybe it's because it's moderated or. Yeah. But
That big one. And we are trying to come up with something equitable, that is affordable, but that very little expense. Not everyone contact or. And I'm just gonna, I believe we're gonna try to.
Fuck this, man.
Look at this and see what we can do, try to close whatever little loophole has been evident in the past. So that's a suggestion.
so, are a lot of different. We have an opinion. Always permitted. Let's expand upon that. Like we have been saying, one, tell us, mail it, and post it in various places, actually post it. I don't know, but I don't think that we have tried to disingenuous about this. Hasn't been enough that we don't already have it in our code that's fixed for probably 2 decades at a third Sunday. So can we make it better? Yes. Have we been in violation of our council? I think that's Cynthia Carbone, lot number 1222, okay.
There's been a line item added. Why couldn't that be done in the 2 months? You have a record there. I found it.
Well, I guess I would add to that, all the candidate, whatever issue, ballot. So it might be a little more, but I hear you.
You can use them to say that it's
All right, thank you. Maybe lot number.
87, Cheryl Bendilkis, 587. Nobody at home can. Yeah. Kind of here, so, but everybody online is trying to say that they can't hear anything, and to be honest, I have no idea what's going on. Half hour that they're at home trying to watch before we decide to come. Okay. Mostly garbled, I couldn't even tell you what you said the first 15 minutes. You know, kind of heard their attorney a little bit, but it's so in and out that.
Able to hear?
Tim, have you been able to hear? We're not leaving.
I can't hear anything.
Can't.
No.
Can you, so let me ask this. Okay. Jeff, can it be heard? So when we post this WebEx, when we put it up on YouTube, will people be able to hear them?
Yeah, I don't know. They could when we did our test earlier.
So we're going to put this microphone down and turn off the other one too. So I don't know where to begin, other than we've had some good questions. We've talked about the permissibility of emailing rather than US mail. Can you hear us now? Nod your heads.
It's muffled.
Wow.
I can hear Tom better than anyone else.
And I can hear Tim better than anybody else. What about Krieger? Can you hear anybody?
We talk right into the mic. Can you hear us? It doesn't sound like it's on.
Maybe you're not going to hear it.
Okay. So, you guys, what we're going to have to do is continue on. I'm not going to use mic now because it may be interfering with these, but I'm not really sure that they're going to be able to. So, if there aren't any further questions, I would like a motion from the board. Share this recommendation and opinions provided by John with membership by publishing it in the Echo. Go ahead. Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? Thank you, Cabot. All those in favor, and these board members need to be able to hear. So, can you hear what we are saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor, please say, oh, no, I don't have discussion, but let's have discussion at board. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Good questions, good dialogue. We will get this out in the Echo. If you would like to forward any other ideas, do so. And with this, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn into a session. Second? Second by Eric. All of those in favor, well, first, any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of moving to executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back in open session.